You thought we were done with the reveals? No, we got a lot of Lyrical Monasterio cards to go over, so strap yourself in, because the current ride lines are going to get even better.
Stand up! Vanguard!
Hey Cardfighters, welcome back to yet another Cardfight update. The card reveals keep on churning, so we keep on going with more content. And in this particular video, I want to go over the last week or so extra days of card of the day reveals for the Lyrical Monasterio set, because we have a lot of cards to talk about. I think if my math is correct, it should be around 15 cards. So I don't want to stretch this intro all too much, and I want to dive straight into the cards themselves. But the only thing that you should know is that we got more support for the already revealed ride line. So that is the Black Wings, White Wings, the brand new Laurel and Roll ride line, as well as the ride line from the starter deck. So with that explained, let's jump straight into these new cards, and we're gonna start off with the support for the Black Wings, White Wings ride line. Now, if you don't know about this particular ride line, links on top here to a previous Cardfight update where I explained the mechanic as well as the ride line itself. Basically, the thing that you need to know about this is that they are working with the Bind Zone, and they look at the cards that are in the Bind Zone, and specifically they look at the grades, and they want to have either only even graded cards in the Bind Zone or only uneven graded cards in the Bind Zone, and if they have that, they will get certain skills accordingly. With that quick summary, let's jump straight into these cards, and we've got support for the Black Wings route as well as the White Wings route, and as you know and as explained in that video, you can mix the two if you want to go that route as well. So first off, we got some consistency support, as we got this grade 2 Second Coming Shedael, and Shedael has the ability Act on Vanguard Circle, cost counter +1, and put this unit into your soul. Draw a card, choose a card from your Bind Zone, and it gets grade +1 until the end of turn. So this allows us to manipulate the Bind Zone and always get the grade that we want. So now we can dictate if we get our evens or unevens, because if we want evens and we get an uneven, we can turn it into an even, and vice versa. Now, as said, Black Wings is the variant that wants to have even cards, so if we see a grade 1 or a grade 3, we can use the effect to turn Black Wings on, and then we can also use her other effect, which is Black Wings Continuous Rearguard Circle. This unit cannot be chosen by your opponent's card effects, and it cannot be attacked by your opponent's rearguards. This is great, because we can just slam her onto the board, be aggressive with it. We don't have to worry about it being removed, because it basically is untouchable unless our opponent has indiscriminate removal, but as far as I'm aware, Overdress doesn't really got that in a lot of forms. I know that Baron Magnus has it, but it only happens on Soul 15, which is very late game, and besides that, I don't really think there's something else. So this is actually really nice, because you can be aggressive, and then when you need to use her act ability, you can do that, and then put her in the soul and get something else. And her putting in the soul is also nice, because we have a lot of cards that use the soul, and so this is not a way to refund that. So overall, pretty good card. Now, the second support card for Black Wings is this grade 2 Staring at Love Tilsuel, and Tilsuel has the ability Black Wings, although when this unit is put onto the Guardian Circle, choose one of your opponent's back row rearguards and rest it. Now, overall, this doesn't sound all too special, but I like this card a lot, because effectively it's 15k shield in disguise, as you can guard an attack with 5k and then rest a back row unit to another column, and if it's an 8k booster, which probably will be in the most cases, it's similar to putting 10k shield on that attack. So you're already putting in shield value for a following attack if you're going to guard it anyways, and if you're at 5 damage or in certain scenarios where you need to guard it, you're gonna generate more value. But this card could actually become a lot better in scenarios where we're going to see where cards are going to have when boost abilities or when it boosts abilities. You're basically negate those effects preemptively, and you're screwing with your opponent's tactics or their boards. And those skills are always pretty good if the meta is calling for something like this. So it might not be all too amazing right now, but I wouldn't sleep on this card, because I can definitely see potential in this thing. Now, as for the third support card for the Black Wings variant, we've got Flying Away Cheluel, and Cheluel has the ability Black Wings Auto and Rearguard Circle. When this unit attacks, cost counter +1, Soul Charge 1, choose one of your opponent's rearguards, and that unit cannot stand during their next stand phase. We're Mega Conley now, and honestly, I like this a lot. This is actually very potent in the current environment for standards, for Overdress, because there isn't actually a lot of ways to circumvent this or play around this, because Doing this on an Elden can be very good if you're up against a Bastion build, or if you stun a Marjorie for a Bruce player when they're supposed to pop off. That can be pretty big, so I can definitely see a lot of value in this card if used right. It's not going to be an always go to a card effect that will give you or generate you value every single time, but when used correctly, there can be a lot of power behind this effect, or a lot of the source of a lot of annoyance for players. Yeah, I can definitely see this card being a staple for the Black Wings variant, maybe a tech option for the generic version, or maybe even in the White Wings variant. So yeah, this is looking pretty good. Now that said, we also got support for the White Wings variant, and the White Wings variant, just like the Black Wings, also has a consistency card, as we got this grade 3 believable talent Bibuel. Yes, she's 8k, but she is pretty good, because she has the ability act on Rearguard Circle, cost Soulless 1, and retire this unit. Draw a card, choose up to 1 trigger unit from your bind zone, and it gets grade +1 until the end of turn. So where the grade 2 of the Black Wings variant can give any grade +1, so turning every Black Wings skill online when you need it, this effectively turns triggers into uneven cards, and the White Wings needs uneven units, and you're always going to run triggers. So with this card, you can basically say, okay, I have my 16 triggers, I have my grade 1s, and my grade 3s, but no grade 2s. And now always, as long as I have this card access to, I am going to have my White Wings abilities active even if I get a trigger into the bind zone. So that's actually really nice. And the fact that she retires itself and you draw a card is also a cycle built in while you are increasing the consistency of your engine. So just like the grade 2 that has extra synergy with putting itself into the soul, this has that synergy with basically being a cycle. So I like this card quite a lot. But it also has another effect which makes it even more versatile, which is White Wings continues of Vanguard Circle, Rearguard Circle. This unit gets power +5k and shield +5k. So if you have White Wings, which you're probably always going to have if you're going to play this card, then she's just a normal 13k like any grade 3, but she also has the 5k shield, thus making up or compensating for the fact that you're probably not running those grade 2s, so you can use her from hand as shield value, which is nice. You're basically making up for the losses to put up the increase of consistency in your build. So this can actually be a really solid card. But we also have a big payout for the White Wings variant with this grade 1 Rainbow Wings Elimuel. And Elimuel has the ability White Wings. Although, when this unit is placed on a Rearguard Circle, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, cost counterblast 1, choose one of your Rearguards for every 3 of your odd grade units. So basically you want to have as many grade 1s and grade 3s on the board. And they get power +5k and critical +1. Cannot choose the same unit twice. Yes, Philip, you cannot give one unit +10k and +2 critical. It needs to be spread out there. So now you know. But basically what this card allows to do is swing triple times for double crits. Because if I remember correctly, the grade 3 of the right line, if you have White Wings, she gains 5k and a critical. So with this grade 1, you can give the critical to the left and critical to the right, and now your entire front row will have a critical, and that extra 5k power does compensate for the potential loss in power as soon as you run grade 3s and grade 1s that some of have wacky numbers. This basically allows you to apply some pressure. But we have another card that makes the grade 3 and this grade 1, and to some extent also a lot of other cards in Lyrical Monasterio, a lot more interesting and also a bit more consistent, which is Clear Skies Heart Miel. And this 7k grade 1 has the ability White Wings auto when this unit is placed on the Rearguard Circle, cost counterblast 1 and soul blast 1. Choose a card with power 8k from your drop zone and put it into your hand. This basically allows us to reuse the grade 3 and the grade 1 that we just talked about. Which is great because they have basically on-place effects or one-shot effects, so now we can use them multiple times over and over again, which is great. This can also be splashed with the other Black Wings cards, because we have the grade 2, that's also an 8k that can work with this, but there are also other cards that are generic within Lyrical Monasterio that have this wacky 8k base power, even though they might be grade 3s or grade 2s, so this is another way to get those cards from the drop zone and have some more reoccursion going on. Now, granted, Counterblast Soul Blast is a bit heavy, but used and timed right, this could actually make a lot of value and can keep the ball rolling if you miss the precise cards that you need. Now, of course, the Black Wings archetype isn't the only one that got more support. We also got some support for the starter deck variant, for the Estesize build, and we begin with this grade 2, which is incredibly powerful, as we got Dignified Talent Anneliese. And Anneliese has the ability Auto Rearguard Circle. When it is boosted, If your Vanguard is Estes size Kiari or Kairi, cost counter +1, call a card from your hand to the open rearguard circle. So the Vanguard restriction is basically the grade 3 of the right line. And her ability allows us to consistently multi-attack beyond the 4th attack, which is really good, because so far we only had the grade 1, which on plays can call the top card of the deck, which is a bit RNG. This card allows us to call from hand, so we have more control over what happens. Yes, it costs a counterblast, but honestly, the deck doesn't really use a lot of counterblast, besides if you're gonna rely on the will order, but I think we're gonna drop that will order at some point. So I think this is actually a really powerful card when set up correctly. Yes, you need to have an open rearguard circle, so you probably need to bounce your front row, but there are some cards that remove themselves from the field, so if you can build up the correct field, you can easily get that consistent 5 attacks off, and with the Persona Red power on top of that and potential other passive power increase, it can unleash mayhem. Now granted, the deck needs the Persona Ride to make the deck function, but luckily, Lyrical Monasterio, just like Dragon Empire, got a Persona Ride Searcher. Albeit, granted, this is not as good as the Dragon Empire one, because we got this grade 1 Magnificent Tone Ludia. And Ludia has the ability, auto, when placed on rearguard circle, cost, counter +1, reveal 2 normal units from your hand, put them on the bottom of your deck, search your deck for a card with the same name as your Vanguard, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. So, this is a Persona Ride Searcher, and it's not on hit, so you can guarantee the value. But the problem is, you are minusing yourself hard. You lose 2 cards from hand to get 1 specific card into your hand. Granted, you put the cards back into your deck, but they're normal units, not triggers, so you don't really get a lot of value from it. And you need the counterblast on top of it. So in my eyes, this is a -2. You go -1 in actual cards, but the counterblast, I can consider that also as a card. So a -2 for Persona Ride means that this card is very specific. You're probably not going to play this in any generic build for Lyrical Monasterio, because if you cannot benefit from Persona Riding, I would not recommend playing this card. That said, I think this card is needed for the trial deck variant, for the SSI's build, because they heavily rely on the Persona Ride effect. If they cannot call the card from hand to the field during the battle phase, they lose out on a lot of tempo. So I think this is somewhat of a mandatory include in the deck to make the deck function. So this might be something you need to look at if you're gonna build and upgrade the trial deck deck. Now, another card that might interact with that archetype is Sakura Season Rudy, and Rudy has the ability on a rearguard circle. When your rearguard is returned to your hand, this unit gets power +5k until the end of turn. So this synergizes with the Vanguard's ability to bounce back 2 cards, so she gets an extra 10k, she becomes an 18k attacker. Might be worth it, I'm not too sure. I think it's a bit awkward because you want to call new units to the field, and that means you need to have her already on the board to see the bounce, but that means you probably don't have an open rearguard circle slot on the other column, so you cannot use the grade 2 to multi-attack beyond the 4th attack. So there are a couple of things that hinder this card, but maybe she makes the cut because there are some interactions that actually benefit her or are in her favor. Now that said, we move over to the support cards that somewhat support the brand new Laurel Nerol build, and one of those cards being this grade 2 musical notation Hermes. And I think this is the first 9k grade 2, like we're seeing all the crazy base powers for this nation. So her effect is, although when this unit is placed in the Guardian Circle, costs Soul +1, and this unit gets shield +5k for each card in your order zone until the end of the battle. So she already is 5k, so if you have 1 order, she becomes 10k, and this can scale. I think this is a fair card to run if you need the extra shield, or you think you need extra shield in maybe the Laurel Roll build. Probably is going to be the Laurel Roll build. Yes, we have generic set orders for Lyrical Monasterio, so this could work for anything. But it's probably the Laurel Roll that is going to abuse this, because they can set those orders in the early game, and on turn 3 you have 3 set orders at that time, and when you use this as a Soul Blast 1 for 20k shield, that might be worth it. That can actually be higher. So yeah, this is something to look at if you want to increase the shield value of your deck. Now we also have a grade 1, which is Precise Curriculum Lubies. I don't know what that thing is on the S, if that means something, but her effect is continuous rearguard circle. If you played an order during this turn, this unit gets power +2k. It's a 10k booster. I think we can move on. Like, you're probably not going to play it, but it's there if you need it. Again, this is generic, so if we see other decks that also use set orders, or any orders, well, for that matter, then this card could be used, but I don't really think I think it's mainly a budget option to be had here. Now that said, we do have a generic order, so the grade 1 we just saw can actually be used in any build, and that generic order being this grade 2 normal order, cleaning up together, and its effect is cost counter +1, draw a card, choose one of your units, and it gets power +5k until the end of turn. I don't like this order. The value isn't really there because it's a discard and a counterblast to draw a card and then 5k power. So you cycle and you counterblast 1 to get 5k power. Not great. If there is synergy between just using orders with maybe a new right line or certain cards, then it might be beneficial, but currently I don't really see the value for this card to actually be played. Now, on top of that, we also got a new 12k grade 3, which is Selfie, Practice, Anneliese, and this grade 3 has the effect on a Vanguard circle. At the end of the battle, it was boosted, cast put this unit into your soul, choose one of your units, and it gets power +5k until the end of turn. So this is the card that does synergize with your Estes right line, where you can clear the other column and then potentially generate that extra 5th attack if you want to go further beyond the normal 4th attack. So I can definitely see this being the support grade 3 that you're going to run in the build to increase the consistency of that power play. But that said, she also generates soul, so if you need a build that needs more soul, this might also be the option to go through, because it's free in that sense and it gives extra power to the board. Now on top of that, we also got yet another grade 3, this time just a normal 13k base, and this is Sophisticated Theresia, and Theresia has the ability on a Vanguard circle. When it attacks, if you played an order this turn, cost Soul Blast 1, until the end of turn, this unit gets power +5k. It's an 18k beater that costs a soul and has a restriction. That restriction is marginable, like you can play it in lore and a roll. It can restand, thus you can stack the power because the power is until the end of turn, which is interesting. But I don't really think it's worth it all too much in that build in the current environment, but I could be wrong on that one. And it might actually see synergy with other builds, because keep in mind, I believe we're going to see another archetype or another right line that will use orders or set orders to some extent, with the one that uses gems. I think there's going to be set orders, but I could be wrong here. So who knows, maybe there is something to discard. And then lastly, we've got Honest and Positive Rose, yet another grade 3 with an interesting base power, this time 11k, and her effect is continuous Vanguard circle. During a turn, for each card in your order zone, this unit gets power +2k. So this card skills, and it's for free. So I like this card a bit more than the grade 3 that we just saw, but the grade 3 can get +10k in the right circumstances. This does take quite a while to get there, because it needs 6 orders to get the same power, because he's 11k. But overall, it's free, it can skill, it's nice, but is it nice enough? Who knows? And with that said, that's also everything of all the cards for the Card of the Day reveals for this week. And probably some cards from end of last week. So we caught up with everything except for the V-Clan collection, because Musketeer was released today, but that's besides the point here. So I'm actually very curious of what you guys think of these cards for Lyrical Monasterio. Are you excited about the upgrades to the respective right lines? Because now we are actually seeing the better picture, or the more size, the full picture here for the Black Wings, White Wings builds, as well as the Estes, I think that's how you pronounce this, the Estes right line from the starter deck, as well as best right line, best girl lore on a roll, with more support around the music, sing-song mechanic. So I'm very curious of what your thoughts about this is. Let me know in the comments down below if any of these cards strike your fancy or something that maybe sparked your interest. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, this video has been brought to you by our lovely patrons over at patreon.com/VanguardInsider. You guys are amazing. If you do want to support the channel or everything that's happening on the channel, you can simply go to patreon.com/VanguardInsider and become a patron today. But with that said, I've been Mr. Time Leap, and I see you guys in the next one!